Vanessa Hartley had always believed that leadership wasn't just about giving orders from a high-rise office. As a young, strikingly beautiful woman with pale skin, sharp blue eyes, and a reputation for kindness, she stood out in the corporate world. But behind her graceful demeanor, Vanessa carried a philosophy. Trust was everything. She had built her marketing agency from nothing, and each hire she made wasn't just about skill, it was about character. One Monday morning, after months of feeling uneasy about the office dynamics, Vanessa decided to invite her small, tight-knit team to a weekend outing at a cozy lakeside cabin just outside the city. Everyone was thrilled. They thought it was her way of thanking them for their hard work. Among them was Marcus, a young black man in his late 20s, quiet, respectful, and always dressed impeccably. He had started as an intern and quickly climbed the ranks because of his dedication and integrity. Vanessa often noticed how Marcus would help others, clean up after meetings, and even stay late to support his colleagues. But some of the others had begun to show signs of greed and selfishness, whispering about her behind her back, taking shortcuts, even subtly sabotaging each other. Vanessa knew that in the corporate world, a single crack in loyalty could sink an entire ship. She planned this getaway not just as a reward, but as a carefully designed test to see who truly deserved to remain on her team. When they arrived at the lake house, the air was crisp and the water sparkled under the morning sun. Vanessa welcomed each employee warmly, carrying baskets of fresh food and supplies. Inside, she had prepared rooms labeled with each person's name, and a big communal dining table was set for them to share meals and stories. Everyone laughed, drank hot cocoa, and shared personal dreams. For Marcus, it was a dream come true. He had never been on such a luxurious retreat before. While others were busy taking selfies and gossiping, Marcus offered to help Vanessa in the kitchen, setting plates, chopping vegetables, and tidying up. Vanessa watched quietly, her heart swelling with a mix of sadness and hope. Later that evening, she gathered everyone around the fireplace and told them they would play a small trust exercise game the next morning. The group cheered, thinking it was a silly team-building activity. But Vanessa's eyes lingered on each face. She saw fear, excitement, and secrets hiding beneath polite smiles. That night, Marcus sat outside on the porch, looking up at the stars. Vanessa joined him, handing him a cup of tea. They spoke about their childhoods, their struggles, and how hard it was to stay true to oneself in a world so hungry for power and image. Marcus's words touched her deeply. He spoke of his mother working double shifts, his father's quiet pride, and his own dream to become a leader who uplifted others rather than stepping on them. Vanessa went to sleep that night knowing she had already seen her true leader, but the rest of the team still needed to reveal their colors. Morning arrived with a golden sunrise spilling across the lake. The team gathered around the large wooden table, plates stacked with pancakes and fresh fruit. Vanessa stood at the head of the table, her presence both comforting and commanding. She explained the game. Each person would receive a sealed envelope containing a personal scenario, a moral dilemma designed to see how they would act when they thought no one was watching. Some envelopes contained instructions to take money from a fake emergency fund she had placed in a small wooden box in the living room. Others encouraged them to help a teammate or to stay honest despite temptation. Marcus's envelope simply asked him to check if anyone needed help packing or preparing breakfast, a simple yet revealing task. As the employees read their notes, nervous glances darted around. They believed the exercise was private. In reality, Vanessa was observing everything through hidden cameras she had installed for the weekend, not out of malice, but as a final measure to protect her company's spirit. One by one, the employees began to act. Two of them, young marketing associates who often boasted about their loyalty, took small amounts of cash from the emergency fund, whispering to each other that no one would ever notice. Another pretended to help, but mostly tried to peek into Vanessa's private documents in the study. Meanwhile, Marcus moved around the cabin quietly, folding towels, making extra tea, and offering to help a colleague who seemed anxious. He even noticed one of the interns crying in her room and comforted her, assuring her that mistakes could be fixed and that she was valued. Vanessa watched the scenes unfold on her small laptop in the master bedroom, her heart heavy, but also certain now. By afternoon, she gathered everyone by the lakeside for what they thought would be a final team photo. They posed happily, unaware of what was coming. Vanessa turned to them, her blue eyes sharp and unwavering, and began to speak. She shared that the weekend wasn't just a retreat. It was a mirror held up to each of their souls. She revealed the hidden cameras and the envelopes, her voice calm but firm. The group gasped. Some turned pale, others looked down in shame. Marcus stood quietly to the side, holding his hands together, his face unreadable. Vanessa's voice softened as she spoke of trust, of true character, and of the cost of betrayal. She paused, looking at Marcus with a proud, motherly smile. "One of you showed what it truly means to be a leader," she said. "One of you reminded me why I started this company in the first place." Vanessa turned fully toward Marcus, her voice trembling slightly now, touched with deep sincerity. "Marcus," she said, her eyes glistening with emotion, "you showed humility, kindness, and an instinct to protect others, not because you thought you were being watched, but because it's who you are." Marcus's eyes widened, and for a moment the confident young man looked like a surprised child. The rest of the team shifted uncomfortably, realizing the gravity of what had just been revealed. Vanessa gestured for Marcus to step forward. As he did, the morning breeze rustled the trees behind them, carrying with it an almost sacred hush. "I didn't plan on announcing this today," she continued, "but I can't think of a better moment. Marcus, starting Monday, you will become our new director of operations." The shockwave that rippled through the group was immediate. Some jaws dropped, a few people clapped weakly, but Marcus stood frozen. His mouth opened as if to protest, but no words came out. Vanessa stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "I know you're humble," she whispered, "but the company needs someone exactly like you. Someone who understands that leadership isn't about taking credit or showing off, but about lifting others up and doing the right thing even when no one sees." The others watched, a few with tears welling up, and others with expressions of regret painted across their faces. Those who had chosen greed or selfishness during the test lowered their eyes, silently replaying their choices. Marcus finally found his voice. "Thank you, Vanessa," he said quietly, emotion cracking through his usually strong tone. "I never imagined. I was just doing what I thought was right." Vanessa smiled widely. "That's exactly why you deserve this," she replied. She turned back to the team, her tone shifting to one of both sternness and compassion. "I don't believe in punishment without redemption," she said. "Those of you who made mistakes, consider this your wake-up call. You can stay, but you'll have to rebuild my trust from the ground up. If you can't face that, you're free to leave today." A heavy silence settled over the lakeside clearing. Some employees immediately burst into tears, others nodded solemnly. A few stepped forward to apologize to Vanessa, to Marcus, and even to each other, raw vulnerability dripping from their voices. As the sun climbed higher, its light seemed to symbolize a new chapter. Marcus stood beside Vanessa, no longer just an assistant or a quiet observer, but now a symbol of the company's renewed heart. Vanessa felt the weight on her shoulders finally ease, knowing she had chosen her successor wisely. She saw in Marcus not only a capable leader, but a mirror of the ideals she had once carried alone. The weekend ended, not in celebration but in quiet, genuine human connection, people facing their shadows and choosing whether or not they would rise from them. In the days that followed, the story of the lakeside retreat spread quietly through the company. Those who hadn't attended heard whispers of how the boss had tested everyone, and how Marcus, the quiet assistant no one really noticed before, had become a symbol of integrity. Employees who once looked at Marcus as just another junior staffer now saw a man of depth, compassion, and unwavering moral courage. Meanwhile, Vanessa watched as her team began to transform. The employees who chose to stay took small steps each day to rebuild trust, offering to help one another with no expectation of reward, apologizing for past mistakes, and approaching their work with new humility. Vanessa often observed Marcus from her office window, seeing him mentor those who had failed her test. He never spoke with arrogance. Instead, he listened patiently, offering guidance and sharing his own vulnerabilities. His door, unlike so many leaders before him, remained open. Under his influence, the culture of the company began to shift dramatically. Meetings turned into spaces of genuine dialogue, and competition gave way to collaboration. Employees started seeing one another as human beings first, co-workers second, each with hidden struggles and stories that shaped their choices. Vanessa felt an overwhelming sense of relief. She had taken a risk in orchestrating such a bold test, but it had paid off beyond her hopes. One afternoon, as she packed up her office for good, she paused and looked at a framed photograph on her shelf. A picture from the retreat, with Marcus standing next to her by the lake, sunlight bouncing off the water behind them. She smiled softly, realizing that she had given the company not just a new leader, but a new soul. On her last day, Vanessa gathered the staff one final time. She stood at the front of the main hall, her voice gentle but strong. "I know my methods were unconventional," she began, "but sometimes we must break ourselves open to rebuild stronger." She glanced at Marcus, who stood among the crowd, his expression steady and grateful. Marcus is living proof that true leadership isn't loud or showy. It's quiet, consistent, and rooted in care for others. I hope each of you carries that lesson forward. There was a moment of deep, collective silence. Then, unexpectedly, the entire room erupted into applause, not polite or forced, but raw and genuine. Some employees wept openly, others hugged one another, and Marcus, overcome with emotion, wiped his eyes. Vanessa stepped down, walking toward Marcus. As she approached, he opened his arms and embraced her tightly. "Thank you for believing in me," he whispered. She smiled through her own tears. "Thank you for showing me I was right too," she replied. As Vanessa left the building that day, she felt no sadness. Instead, she felt something purer, a quiet pride, a gentle certainty that she had left the company in the hands of someone who would protect its heart. Outside, the city bustled on as usual, unaware that within those glass walls, a powerful transformation had taken place. Marcus stood at the window, watching her car disappear into the traffic. Then he turned to face his new future, ready to lead not just with strategy or power, but with humanity and soul. In that moment, the story of a simple weekend test became a living legend, a reminder that while fame and charm fade, integrity shines